DJ Bien-Aime hanging out with me, Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN.com. DJ, good to see you. Last night, Monday Night Football, pretty good game between the Chiefs and the Eagles, a rematch of the Super Bowl, a game where the Chiefs defense looked very, very good, but the Chiefs receivers could not catch a cold. Does have me, at the very least, thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit differently, and maybe the AFC playoff picture as a whole. What does it mean for the Houston Texans?
I think what this means, I think this is one of the, not weird, but one of the rare years where it's really wide, that the AFC is really wide open. I can't think of the last time it was this wide open. Granted, we just left an era that had Brady, Manning, and obviously, Mahomes on the back end. So you kind of, and Ben Roethlisberger. So you can kind of pencil those guys in, because those were the majority of the guys that would go to the Super Bowl from the AFC outside of the 1 year with Joe Flacco, and maybe I'm missing somebody else, but I don't think I am. But I think this year it's wide open mainly because, again, Kansas City, I think they'll still get the 1 seed, but in all honesty, with the way their offense looks, they remind me a lot of the 2019 Patriots. Sorry to stab you in the back again.
Damn.
I love to do that.
Damn,
but
he came in and he said, hey, the Patriots are 2-8, huh?
They are 2-8.
Thanks.
I'm giving you facts, though. But again, 2019, the Patriots had a great defense. I believe they held opponents to 14 points per game or 15.
Yeah, they started off 8-0, but you're right. The offense was
the offense wasn't good, and it was only a matter of time till it cracked. And it eventually caught up, and it caught up in that Tennessee Titans playoff game. With Derrick Henry went absolutely berserk. So I see a lot of similarities with that, right? You have a great defense, great Hall of Fame coach, great all-time quarterback, really good. The Patriots that year, they didn't have Gronk. But again, the Chiefs do have Travis Kelce, but the receiving core is so
they can't catch.
Yeah,
isn't it crazy to think that right now you would take the Texans receiving core over the Chiefs receiving core?
Nah, it's not crazy at all. I would have taken them over the Chiefs, the receiving core. I would have taken them before the season.
Before the season?
Yeah,
even with Travis Kelce aboard.
No. We just talking about the receivers.
Just the receivers.
Yeah. The receiving core isn't that good. That's why I thought the Tyreek Hill loss last year was going to affect them. I thought what they looked like this year was how they were going to look like last year, and obviously I was just 1 year late. But regardless, they had Juju, and Juju was basically a borderline 1,000-yard receiver. They lost him, and now you're relying on Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, MVS, Rashid Rice, Sky Moore. None of those guys keep a defensive coordinator up at night. If anything, they make them go do this bet early when you game plan against those guys. So there's a lot of that similarity, and I think where the Texans slide into is that every matchup you can come up with a logistical, realistic reason why they can win that game, right? If you have the Texans against the Chiefs, the reason why I would say they have a shot at winning that game is because their defense will be good enough to keep the game close enough, and you hope that C.J. Stroud can make a couple of plays, and boom, you win that game. If the Texans were to go against the Ravens, we saw how that Week 1 matchup looked. Granted, the teams are going to look vastly different later on, but the Chiefs' defense kind of stifled Lamar, forced him into 2 turnovers, one of his few multi-turnover games throughout the whole season. If they go against Miami, right, if they can just get the Dolphins Tua's okay under pressure, but the Texans are really good at pressuring quarterbacks. They're top 5 in pass rush win rate, and then top 5 in just overall pressures. And I believe they're second in sacks since week 8. So they've been ratcheting up the sack numbers. Will Anderson's coming into his own. Obviously, JG's been playing at a high level. Same with Sheldon Rankin, who had 3 sacks against the Bengals. So, boom, that's another example of a team where, they match up well. And then again, if it's the Bills, it's the Bills. The Bills, we've seen how they've looked this year, right?
Right.
I'm not going to let the one Jets anomaly win skew me into thinking that, this team is a lot different. Nah, not really. I've seen, the Jets, for whatever reason, always stifle Josh Allen. Josh Allen just finally had a decent game, and they're playing against, Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle.
DJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN. I noticed you did not mention the Jaguars among those teams.
Yeah, I was going to get there, but I was running out of breath.
Okay, fair enough. So I want to know that you for sure think that are the Jaguars in that same conversation as all of those
absolutely,
teams?
Yeah. To be honest, I think every single team can come up with a reason why they can beat every single team. Every fan base can feel like they can beat whatever team for whatever reason, I think the only team that for sure doesn't have a legitimate case, it's the Steelers. Even the Browns, the Browns defense is so good that they turn into a slugfest. Now, if it's 10-10 going into the fourth quarter, the records don't matter. The quarterbacks already matter, but the records don't matter. Anybody can win at that point, right? The only team I think that can't is the Steelers because like their offense is so putrid and like
they just fired Matt Canada today.
Yeah. And to be honest, the defense is slightly overrated. They actually like bottom in a lot of categories. It just happens that they'll force a couple of turnovers and now can like kind of skew the game. But in reality, like we saw what the Texans did against them in week 4.
There's 3 teams that aren't serious contenders that are hanging around. It's Pittsburgh, who you mentioned. It's the Colts, who are also hanging around. And the Broncos have been playing better of late. Maybe 2 more weeks from now, maybe we could put the Broncos in and say, hey, this is a possible 7 seed or something like that in the AFC. But it is interesting that we put the Texans in the same conversation as these possible Super Bowl contenders because of how wide open the AFC is. And I think let's go back to something you said a little bit before. Obviously, Kansas City's having a lot of issues offensively, which I think would help the Texans out. But that Texans defense, it looked pretty good against Lamar Jackson in week 1. This is a rather simple question, but it's a subjective answer because this one little word has so many different meanings. Is the Texans defense good? Because the last 2 weeks that we have seen this defense, they've certainly done their job. Maybe not at the end against, or at the beginning of the game against the Bengals where they gave up the long touchdown. Maybe not at the beginning of the game on Sunday where they also gave up the long touchdown. But outside of those 2 big shot plays, the last 2 weeks against 2 pretty good quarterbacks, the Texas defense has played very well, I think.
Right now, they're 14th in the NFL in points per game allowed. They're allowing 20 points per game. Well, 20.8, so it's around 21. So I would say, yeah, it's good. Like, is it great? No, they still have not pieces, but they still have work to do in that regard. But I think it's a good unit, right? Because, again, like we've seen them against Lamar. We've seen them against Joe Burrow, right? We've seen them against Kyler Murray have a lot of success. We just seen them also vomit on themselves against Desmond Ridder.
Yeah,
right?
And Baker Mayfield. It's weird. Right. And Bryce Young had his best game against them. Yeah. So they've done great against good quarterbacks compared to expectations, but against the guys that you're like, those guys have done a lot better than you would have thought.
Yeah, but to be honest, like I'm gonna be very candid. Like if I'm a fan of an AFC team, I don't give 2 bleeps about what my team does against an NFC team. Mainly because the chance of you're not gonna see that team unless you make the Super Bowl, right? Like, and then the chance of you meeting that team that you lost to is very slim, in all honesty.
That's fair. And I think from an NFC game perspective, some of those games that are against marquee teams in another conference, those are your traditional measuring stick games. And you're right, like at the end of the year, are we going to be thinking about those 3 games? Probably not. But at the same time, for whatever reason, those offenses had success.
Yeah, but again, like we've seen them against AFC teams though, right? We saw them against the Steelers. They held them 6 points. We saw them against the Jags, held that offense to 17 points. We saw them against Lamar and them, and they held that offense to 25 points. And the majority of the points came off of turnovers on downs. They forced Lamar into 2 turnovers. Like, I'm gonna live with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm Joe Burrow. Like, yes, Joe Burrow scored 27 at the end of the game, but that was more the Texans were kind of peeing down their pants.
They let him back in the game.
Right. So like even that game, like they basically forced Joe Burrow into 2 interceptions, held him to under 110 yards at halftime. Like I would rather be great against the AFC teams and the AFC better quarterbacks. Then, like, okay, Baker, it happens. Like, Baker went crazy. You know what I'm saying? The offense, Bryce had his best game, but even his best game, only scored 15 points. So, like,
TJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN, hanging out with me. Paul Gallant is the Paul Gallant Show. How much from that week 3 game between the Texans and Jaguars matters going into Sunday's game?
0. Yeah, 0. Absolutely 0. Mainly because, like, it was it was a lot of the things that happened in that game aren't repeatable.
Blocked field goals, missed field goals that gave the Texans opportunities.
Andrew Beck kickoff return.
That was a weird-ass kickoff return for a touchdown.
Right. Like, even, like, Tank Dell's 2 big plays, right? Shout out to CJ for putting the ball where he needs to go. Shout out to Tank for getting where he needed to get to. But those were also broken, kind of blown coverages. So you can't rely on those to have success, right? So, yeah, like, the majority of it is, like, none. But I will say, though, defensively, for whatever reason, I don't matter who the head coach is, the DC is, Trevor Lawrence stinks against the Texans. For whatever, it's so weird. Because, like, I can understand if it was, like, the same coach, same system. It was literally, like, and then, if he had the same coach, he had Urban Meyer and Doug Peterson, and he has 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 5 games against the Texans. He's 1-4. Even a 1 win He threw for 152 yards, and he threw a pick. Granted, they won that game by a landslide. But again, I'm so perplexed to why Trevor Lawrence does not do that well against the Texans for whatever reason.
It's strange. My big thing with Trevor Lawrence is
he's overrated, though.
The hype, right? He came into the league
He's so overrated.
And it's not his fault that he was hyped the way that he was, but people were talking about him in college like he was going to definitely be one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to act like I watched every single Trevor Lawrence game at Clemson, but the games I did watch, a couple of games against Syracuse in particular, and I remember, yeah, they're good moments, but one thing that he regularly does, and he still does it, is sometimes his accuracy is just completely gone. I don't know why it is, but he will overthrow people in a way where you're like, man, you didn't need to throw that ball that hard.
Right.
So that's the big thing with him that happens a lot. And also, he does not take care of the football when he gets hit.
Yeah, I mean, again, like
he fumbles more than anybody.
He has like 13 touchdowns, 8, 9 interceptions, some absurd number. And like for a guy going in year 3, like that can't be. Like for what he was billed as, he was billed to be like the next Andrew Luck, the next Peyton Manning, and he's a good quarterback.
He's definitely good. You can't say he's bad.
Yeah.
But the expectations, we were sold something different.
Yeah, like come on.
I've been waiting for this. You see the same thing, and maybe it's because we're closer to it, but it does feel like everyone kind of just accepts that, yeah, Lawrence is a great young quarterback.
Yeah.
And we, as people that see him twice a year, because let's be honest, the Jaguars are almost never on in primetime.
That's facts.
No,
have they been on any primetime games this year outside of a Thursday night?
I think they have a Monday night game coming up, but it might get flexed out because it's against the Bengals. And I think with Joe Burrow out, there's a good chance that game gets flexed out. I don't know off the top of my head, and maybe Sean can check for us about Sunday night football games for the Jaguars, but he doesn't get shown in primetime a lot. He is not necessarily protected by the national media in the same way that Justin Herbert is. But people don't go after him.
He's very protected.
I think people don't care about him enough to go after him in the same way they go after like Dak Prescott, for example.
For sure. You know that
who he plays for.
That has a lot to do with like market and stuff. Okay, so he has 11 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, pass rate of 92. If you would have told Jaguar fans going into year 3 that would be, you know, what his production would look like through 11 weeks of the 2023 season, they'd be shocked. Because like what he was billed as, like he was billed as Andrew Luck. Like, as we get further away from Andrew Luck, you know, people are going to kind of like try to claim he's overrated. If you watch Andrew Luck during his prime, he was incredible, right?
He was good. His big problem was
he was great.
His big problem
heard what he just said, Sean? He said he was good.
His big problem
was great.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
His big problem was he was extremely careless with the football.
Oh, brother.
What? He was.
So, I mean, like, but he was putting up incredible, numbers.
He put up incredible numbers, no doubt about it. He threw a lot of dumb interceptions. He owned the Texans, that's for damn sure.
All right, so you say he was just a good quarterback.
I feel like the way we talk about Trevor Lawrence right now is probably how we should have talked about Andrew Luck. And his numbers were incredible. There's no denying that.
Oh my God. I'm pulling up the stats.
Look, DJ,
right now.
I'm looking at it through the elitist prism of New England Patriots football, and whenever that guy went up against the Patriots, he did.
But yeah, because you to beat the Patriots and playoffs, you need a good team.
Yeah, but I mean, some quarterbacks
he didn't have great teams around him. He had one receiver. He had an aging, decrepit Frank Gore. He had a terrible offensive line. Who's his tight end? Can't tell you. His defense was okay and got that team to the AFC Championship game, beating Peyton Manning to get to the AFC Championship game. Well, yeah, sure, they lost to y'all, but like, okay, ooh, like you guys won a Super Bowl that year. Oh my God, they could have beat the Patriots. Oh, he could have beat the Patriots.
I just missed a lot of quarterbacks over that era because they didn't beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people didn't.
Ben Roethlisberger, I would do that with as well. But hey, there's two guys that did, and I mean, Peyton Manning, he did occasionally, and on top of that, the other guy, Patrick Mahomes, who in the regular season at the very least looked very good against New England. So I say good, very good. Does that make you feel better?
He led the league in touchdown passes in 2014.
Such a passive aggressive good.
Oh,
I said he's good.
He was great. He was a great quarterback, and that's who I thought we were going to get from Trevor Lawrence. And to be honest, Trevor was, to be honest, the guy that is what we thought Trevor would be is kind of Justin Herbert or a little bit like CJ.
Yeah.
In the terms of like what we said about Trevor, and what he's actually done compared to what Herbert / CJ has done, like it was kind of like that's what I was more expecting.
With Herbert, there are wow moments a lot, and I think that makes a lot of people bite their tongue on Herbert when it comes to criticism against him. With Stroud, you get tons of those. With Lawrence, you really don't get that many of those.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you know he's capable of running.
Yeah.
And he's capable of throwing it downfield.
Yeah.
And again, we're not saying he's bad, but with the Texans playing him on Sunday,
He's good. He's good. He's just not. He's not great.
He's not great. He's not great. So I'll say Andrew Luck's very good.
You're a POS.
Sorry, no, I'm just an elitist cake eater when it comes to football.
This man watched Tom Brady. You know what? That's why now.
Yeah, it is.
That is why now you're suffering the way you're suffering now as a Patriots fan.
Yeah, whatever.
Because you guys had that, you got sold your soul to the devil for that run.
It was great.
And now you have to eat crow. You're 2-8. Your quarterback's Mac Jones. Mac Jones, did you see that pick he threw against the Colts?
I did. It was bad.
Yeah, it was so refreshing to see that.
He was protesting that they were playing in Germany.
Did y'all see that meme of Robert Kraft standing up and then just going,
because when he did that, he thought to himself, you know what? We did something that no team in any sport's ever going to do again. Oh, that's what we all do.
Oh, my God.
See, you can laugh all you want,
God.
but you'll never have what I have.
All right, whatever. But
here.
Yeah, but back to Trevor, I think that I think we get caught up on what he can do instead of what he actually does. I think that's a paralyzing thing within media and a little bit with front office people is what a guy can do. But if you talk to players and talk to coaches and stuff like that, it's about what you actually do. Because what you do is what's gonna either keep the players or the coach employed at quarterback or make people unemployed. Right?
While we're talking about things that are done, DJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat reporter, ESPN. I was curious as to what you thought about Kareem Jackson getting suspended again this season, especially with the context of Denzel Perriman getting suspended for 3 games that got reduced to 2. Kareem Jackson earlier this year, literally a month ago, served a 2-game suspension that was originally a 4-game suspension. He takes somebody out in a game, and some people are arguing it was a clean football hit. I don't know.
It was very clean.
I think with Kareem Jackson, though, him getting suspended for 4 games after already being suspended for 4 games that got appealed to 2 games in the same year after being ejected twice already this year, and Denzel Perriman getting 3. I don't know what to make of the NFL's punishment system because it seems completely arbitrary and random, but to the point where they're just spinning a wheel and say, all right, 4, cool.
So I think Desmond hit Denzel, not Desmond, but Denzel, he got his reduced to 2.
Right. But his was dropping to the ground. I don't know what he's supposed to do there, as opposed to it's a defenseless receiver going over the middle. Look, I'm always going to be team defense. I liked Kareem Jackson when he was here.
Me too. I'm always going to be team defense.
I don't know that that's the hit that should have happened.
Yeah, right.
But since he's been a prior suspended player already this year, and he's getting his second time around just 1 game more than what Denzel Perriman originally got, and maybe he gets appealed down to 3 games. I don't get that.
I mean, to be honest, neither one of them should have been suspended. All right. Kareem's earlier hits, whatever. Is what it is.
They were bad. They were the earlier ones were bad. This one was less bad. Kareem
was just trying to restore the feeling. He was just trying to restore the feeling that we grew up on anyway. But the hit on Dobbs, I mean, I get it. He led with a crown in time. But what is he supposed to do in that position? It was a very tight alley. It was very. He's like, well, yeah. He's like, kick him, you know what I mean?
Punch him in the ball.
It was a very tight alley that he was coming down, and how is he supposed to tackle him, right? Because here's the thing, right? If he go low and he takes out Dobbs' knees, now he's called dirty. If he goes super high and hits him in the head and concusses him, he's called super dirty. He's him dead in the chest. And then Dobbs is also ducking or whatever. But what is he supposed to do in that situation? Is he supposed to let the man run through? And on top of it, yes, the Matrix. And on top of it, why are you running a quarterback sweep to, a quarterback sweep toss, whatever, to Joshua Dobbs? You know what I'm saying? Protect your guy in that situation, But I love the fact that he hit him hard. He knocked him out and made him fumble. He restored the feeling. That's what I'm here for. I like physical football. I ain't got time for all the hoot nanny and the ballerina twirling around. I like physical football. That's just me.
DJ Bien-Aime, you know who you just sounded like before we let you go?
Who?
You sounded like Tom Brady. Tom Brady said those things just the other day on a podcast. He doesn't like where the NFL is going.
Yeah, I mean, because
He said offensive players need to protect themselves, which is ironic given that the league protected Tom Brady.
For sure. But Brady did a good job of protecting himself too. Like there were plenty of times where like he would just get down to the ground if need be. And he said like there's time where I wouldn't throw the ball in Ray Lewis's area because I didn't want to get my receiver knocked out because I was going to need that receiver.
That is a load of crap though, because Wes Walker had more concussions than anybody I think in NFL history.
Yeah, but you're right. He said Ray Lewis. He didn't say Ryan Clark.
yeah. Or Bernard Pollard.
Right.
Many other players.
Yeah, exactly. So, side note, I'm looking at the stats again. Andrew Luck's last year, he threw 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions.
That's a lot of interceptions.
I hate you.
He is DJ Bien-Aime. Happy Thanksgiving, buddy. I'll see you next week.